Hello, hello, hello. What is happening? So, spent a lot of time on the head last week. Got to a pretty good place. Got the teeth all worked out inside. With the gums in the mouth bag, so that'll be good. That'll be easier for animation. Then I'll work with some of the equipment. You also did the bow staff last week. Today I'm gonna work on the equipment, get the belts and the knee pads and elbow pads figured out. Maybe throw some wrist guards on there. Maybe some elbow wrap. You know, who knows? It's always cool when they have like the tape all over. So just keep hacking away at it. See if add some more detail. And just keep going. Get ready to rig pretty soon. Fix this shell. Just want to make this part look a little bit more gnarled. Inflate the whole thing. What happens? Hey, side effects, what's up? You sent me a frog on Facebook. Where was that? Huh, I'll have to at my personal or the high horse? I'll have to take a look. I don't think I saw that. Personal. Huh. Yeah, I don't see anything in my personal, man. You sure I got it? Yeah, I got nothing here. Yeah, maybe send it again, because I'm looking at my personal right now and I don't have anything in there. Yurda, what's happening? Welcome. Yeah, it's my account name. But yeah, I mean, send it again. I'm looking at my inbox right now. I don't have it. Why don't you send it to High Horse? No way, I can take a look. High Horse Entertainment's the page that we do all our professional stuff out of. Hey, man, huh? It's good to see you. Welcome back, I mean. Hey, what's up, engines? How you doing? Welcome back, guys. Helmy, what's up? Welcome. Ghost of Christmas Future, welcome, guys. How y'all doing? Here's where we're at right now. I want to see if I can get the hands to some degree of functionality. I started posing it last week off stream, and the hands are actually in a bit of a bad spot right now because they don't quite represent the movement of an articulated finger. Like the shape isn't quite there. So I'm just trying to flatten it out, get some knuckles in there, and the way it's kind of broken down in the human hands, and I expect this to be similar for a humanoid turtle, is you want to break it down into thirds. So that's what I'm going to be doing here. Once I get an idea of where it should probably come down a little bit on the outside. Even though they only have two fingers, you want to maintain some of the characteristics of the human hand, like the pinkies are lower than the index finger and the ring finger. Also think it's probably a little too fat. Let me flatten that out. I might actually also need some more geo. It's getting a little bit tight in here. The inside webbing goes a little bit farther than people realize, but it doesn't go that far. A little bit more hand-like. I recently know about ZBrush tool. What model is good for start and practice? Let's see. What model is good for start and practice? I guess the best thing to do to practice, I would say, is open up the ones that kind of come with ZBrush. There's a few under project that are pretty good, but then there's also a bunch that come under tool. So it depends on what you're trying to make, of course, but like, you know, there's a lot of human stuff. Actually, these are my human-based base meshes. It's always good to practice on humans, but humans are very complicated and they're very difficult. It's also nice to practice on. You can practice on animals. Animals are good. There's a big cat section, I think, in the stock. A lot of these are my collected over time, so they might not be as helpful because I've got a lot of stuff that I've been collecting. But animals are a good thing to practice on. You know, maybe take a base mesh and build armor around it, maybe. Just like new there. Alright, cool. Got your model here. Oh yeah, I remember this one. Side effects, I remember this. Yeah, I love this. I think this is cool. It's got nice human. It's while being very, very much more of a creature than a human. It's got nice human characteristics. This is a good blend between human and creature. Yeah, I really like this. This would be a cool thing to animate. Get the eyeballs in there. Yeah, you should continue with that. I like it a lot. I think it's coming out really good. This thumb is not long enough. just delete the other one. Thanks, Mama Rook. Here's what he's looking like. We got color as well, but that's just for display purposes right now. It's still got to figure out some shape. And then we'll be getting this bad boy animated. You're only 4 months into ZBrush and you made that awesome turtle model. That's a really good sign, man. You should stick with it because you got some real talent on display there, and it looks like you really got the knack for it. If you keep working at it, you know, you'll be able to make pretty much anything you can imagine, which is really fun. Yeah, the turtle piece is coming out really good. You should stick with it. Get some poly paint on there. Get a nice render of it. Throw some lights. This is the tricky part, breaking this thing down into thirds. I don't think I have enough real room at this kind of scale and proportion. Let's back these knuckles off a little bit. Make them a little bit more reasonably sized. More resolution around here, actually. 4 right now? Yeah. Oh, you do sculpting in real life side effects? Do you have anything to share? I would love to see that. If you have anything from your real life stuff, I'd love to check it out. Oops, where'd my Facebook stream go? For You Kids TV. Can I show you Michelangelo? Yeah, for sure. You can just share it in the chat here. And if you're not allowed to share it in the chat, you can send it to, there's a Discord, Pixelogic Discord you can send it to. But yeah. Go ahead, I'd love to take a look. Greetings from Puerto Rico. Are you going to retopologize or you already did it? I get stuck on my good topology for game character I'm working on. Yeah, I'm going to retopologize it. Right now the topology is, it's not there. It's all Dynamesh. The only thing I did topologize was I actually did the hands already. So that was just a demonstration of how ZBrushLIVE works. So as you can see, this is pretty low resolution as it is. Not low resolution, but good edge flow, retopologized, and that'll pretty much work for me. The main thing is I'll probably need to run it again because the fingers are all there's enough resolution down here, and the resolution I do have is going to need more edge loops and such. So I'll probably end up getting that done. For now, though, I think I'll probably stay with Dynamesh because I really do need to have more geo down here while I'm working. Those hands are actually starting to actually be hands, which is nice. Like the main thing is I want this to be lower than that. Just by a little, not a ton. Let's do something about these knuckles here. Alright, at this point, let me duplicate off and save a copy of that. Evan Ross, hello, welcome back. Duplicated that one off. Now, let me delete lower, delete hidden. finish this. This is 60,000 down to 40,000. Let's take it to about 200,000. That's a little much. That feels pretty good. There we go. Just give me plenty of resolution to work with. Yeah, more muscles than Thanos. Yeah. Well, he's got to save the world here. The one thing I'm debating is I'm going to do a little test animation for this guy. I always want to, you know, they live in New York City, but they're fighting with traditional, like, martial arts weapons, which I never really, like, they never really have guns, or like never really come into contact with guns in all of their crime fighting. I think Bebop and Rocksteady had some guns, and I think the Fly dude like had a bunch of sci-fi weapons. But it's just like a bunch of mutants fighting crime in New York City. You think guns would come into play? So I was thinking about maybe like having him like disarm an armed enemy or something. It's a little bit too much here. Let's take this down a little. knuckles a little bit, but I can smooth those down. Present but not protruding, the way they are now. Michelangelo's the strongest weapon, and it is pizza. Yeah, it's funny, like, even like when they do like illustrative, figurative works of them, like they always have the pizza. Even to the point where I thought, like, when I switched over to Michelangelo, I pretty much figured I would have to give him pizza at some point and sculpt out a pizza. Although last time I was in the stream, someone mentioned like the nunchucks are not a good, like they're not a weapon indicative of this time period, or I guess time period they're in New York City, but like the nunchucks were like not the right thing apparently, I was told. Those muscles come across the front here. A little bit of a gap in there. It doesn't matter so much, it's all going to be hidden behind elbow pads, but it's always nice. It's always good to have a nice foundation, and then even if you put clothes on top of it, the clothes will look better if they're on top of something that actually makes sense. Dante Yamada, what's happening? Welcome. Safe New York City, but can't save one girl in the old game. Yeah, well, you gotta have, you know, the storytelling drama's gotta come from something. But yeah, I agree. See, that's the thing, is that like this wouldn't taper as much as it tapers. Palm is kind of, it's kind of bulgy right there, but it's not that bulgy. Anything should be farther out. There we go. That's better proportions there. There we go. That looks more like a hand. Even though it's a freaky 3-fingered turtle hand. More of a hand. And it's in a nice good pose, so that when I rig it, it'll be nice and easy to animate. Memoruke, do you use Sculptress at all? I do use Sculptress. I've used it on this sculpting a little bit. It's awesome. It's helpful. The dynamic resolution really helps a lot. It starts to slow things down for me a little bit, performance-wise, especially when I'm streaming. So I don't use it a ton. What are you doing today? So today I thought I would get a little bit. I've fixed up the knotting here on the back to make it a little less mechanical. 'Cause I did that procedurally, so I kind of came in and sculpted it to make it look a little more organic. I got more work to do on it actually, so I tidied up sort of that part of the thing. I'll probably come in here later and just do like, you know, like damage, nicks and scratches and stuff like that. So yeah, I just want to take more things to detail. A lot of things are block out right now. The hands were pretty messy, so I cleaned up the hands. I think I do a little bit more work on the legs. The leg musculature is not really there yet. But I'd like to get these equipments and things. The things that are block out, I'd like to just take a little bit farther, so I can get them to the point where they're at least, you know, passable. Give me one sec, guys. My dog's fussing. I gotta give him a quick bite of food. One moment. Be right back. Give me like 90 seconds or so. Sorry about that. What brush do I use mainly for detailing? I use a couple. The damn standard brush is pretty standard. Just a nice little, like, it's got a little pinch to it. I've also got a couple that I found. This is Shane Olson, who's a guy, another one of the Pixelogic streamers. He's got a nice carved brush that's got less pinch and has a lazy mouse kind of built in. This is a good one for doing landmarks. This other one's called Fall Off Sharp, and it's kind of similar. It's probably the one I use most for just like cutting into things and doing landmarks. It's just very, very, very strong, very deep cuts. Not a lot of pinch. As you can see from the ring, the focal shift is such that like you're kind of always giving it a full cut. And the alpha is really, really sharp as well. See, Shane Olson's alpha is a little bit bigger. Fall Off Sharp's a little bit smaller. Damien Standard is the same. Looks like it's the Fall Off Sharp's the same as the Damien Standard Alpha. I never really realized that, but the properties are different. It doesn't have like this what's it called, standard. Damien Standard is a pinchy version of the standard brush, so it has the same features of the standard brush as it goes in, and that makes it do a little kind of collapse on the spot there, a little pinch. So yeah, sometimes that's desirable. You know, when you're doing muscles and stuff, it's nice because if I do a pinch, like the muscles, they do come in to each other and roll over like that, so it makes sense for the muscles to be that way. However, that's not always the case, and depending on what type of carving and detailing you're going to do, it depends a lot. Hey, what's up, Ash? Ashley, I stopped by your stream yesterday. I didn't say anything, but I just popped in and lurked for a little while. Good to see the stream team's back. Everyone's been streaming again. Did you, Ashley, did you shoot your little 30-second Z Summit thing? I hate that thing. Alright, I'm gonna work on these little pieces here. Actually, not yet. First thing I want to do is I want to do this shell. Yeah, I did too. Oh man, it's so bad. It's like it's so awkward. It's super cringy. I didn't even see mine from last year, and I'm thankful that I didn't. And I might not. I'm gonna effort to not see mine this year. What do these shells look like? Zomax, what's happening? Welcome. Looking for a turtle shell. Coming up empty. Alright, let's hit the mighty Googles. Turtle shell. There we go. That seems pretty standard. I want to keep it like kind of realistic looking, since the rest of the mesh is pretty realistic looking, but still kind of, you know, give it a little bit of style. Ooh, that one's kind of cool. I like this. I also like the patterns up here, though. They're kind of more identifiable as turtle shells, kind of like that Koopa shell look. Huh. I always just put like a hexagon back there and tile it, and apparently that's not the thing to do if you want turtle shells. That one's kind of cool, too. There's a few cool ones here. I like this one the most, though. Start there. That'd be a good little page. ZBrushLIVE. I like to always fire up Ashley's stream from yesterday and see what she got done.
Individual could be a high-level target.
Sorry for the ads. Let's do anything else other than that. One thing I noticed too is Ashley gets a good amount of views after. People go and watch the tape, which is shows you're learning something. People don't tend to watch my tape. They're not learning much in my stream. Dude, Ashley, you need to sculpt creatures that I'll then retopologize, and animate, and we'll just do a little menagerie of monsters. Put it in a game. People will love it. Look how cool this is. 6 million. I always wonder how many polygons you get up to by the end of your stream. Are you using Sculptress? No, it doesn't look like it. That's awesome. I always want to see these things move so bad. Yeah, did you take a few? Did you take a few takes for the blooper reel? And you must, if you did a blooper reel, you must had a few takes. I did mine in 1 take. Last year it took me like 8 takes. This year I did it in 1 take, but it's because I didn't care as much about how bad it was. I was like, just fired it away. I was like, ugh. Because I'm never gonna like it, so might as well just live my life. Alright, so I already have the ridge. All I really want to do is just get like, there's like little different ones around the edge. I can't hit those little divots though, because something has to come out. Last year's is 100 takes. This year is 50. Yeah, I mean, it's bad. I just lived with it this time because I was super busy and I was like, had already done my stream for the day, and I kept pushing it back and pushing it back. I did, of course, I did on the last possible day we were allowed to do it is when I did it, and I was just like so busy that day, and I was just like, freaking get this thing done, and just lived with it. Got on with my day, and I was like, "Ooh, that was pretty bad." And then I just sent it over. I was like, "That was well, can't control it now." I almost said, "Let me do another" to them, and then I was like, "You know what? I gotta get back to work." And I'll just try to avoid it at the summit and just try not to see it. That'll make me feel better about myself. There we go. That's a more interesting look. Oh, one thing I did do on the video this year is I wrote down what I wanted to say, and I didn't do that last time. I didn't do it the first time. I didn't have a little script there. I threw I just wrote down like, here's things I want to say. Here's my channel. You know, throw a Diss Jam plug in there, and then I threw that in text right below my camera. I just looked in the camera and read off the thing. That helped a lot. Last year I didn't do that. Last year I just kind of winged it, and it took forever. But this time that helped, and I was like, yeah, it's super cringy, but I don't hate myself as much as I did last year. Ship it. And I got on with my day. Oh, that'd be so much fun. We should collab. That'd be awesome. Neither one of us. You're more busy than I am. Neither one of us are gonna have time, but we should totally do that one day. That'd be awesome. If you ever had anything you wanted like animated or like skinned, or, like even like put in a game, let me know, because like we could, I could find the time where it's like throw a couple hours at it, here and there, maybe like a few hours a week. I'll just like, throw some quick stuff at it. But like, dude, we could totally get some of your creatures flying around, because like I'm working. I've been rigging and skinning and animating characters pretty much for most of my time. I haven't really done much creature work, but like I'd love to, and I'm learning about how to right now, and I'm doing a little bit of like experimenting with like creature stuff. So like it's exciting because there's so much you can do. If you can animate, like rigging a creature and doing like cool rigs on like non-humanoid meshes, it's really it's interesting, but B, like you can really, I don't know what's the word I'm looking for. You can like really make an impactful sequence when it's just more impact. People are used to seeing humans, and like you can certainly do impactful sequences with humans, but as soon as you start bringing creatures into it, like there's some like leap forward you take with like how it resonates, I feel. Yeah, I did mine by myself. Yeah, I didn't allow anyone to hear me, my wife included. I was just like, I did mine. I like made my dog leave the room too. I was like, I'm just gonna knock it out in here. It'll be brutal, and off we go. All right, let's do these in. Yeah, I do like doing that kind of stuff. I don't like it. Rigging is always a nightmare, but like it's something that I kind of have to do, and I've been meaning to do. And for our next game, it's something that I'm gonna want to have more experience with. So I've just been kind of like finding stuff out there to practice on, and doing more kind of creature-y stuff, just because it's like something I need to get better at anyway. So it's better to get better at it now than need to do, because I'm going to need to do it later. It's something to get better at doing now than wait till later and then stink at. So yeah. I mean, you've got like a whole, I might just hit you up one day and be like, go to your ZBrush folder, find me like one of these creatures you'd like to see animated, one of your favorite ones, and let me just hack away at it. And that might be a good way for us to just like try some stuff out, see if we can make it cool. Even if it's something like just like a little thing where it's like one thing just walks out of a cave, breathes fire or ice or whatever the hell, does some effect, fade to black. Even if it's just something like that, it might be fun. find a pattern I find appealing. I think it's pretty good actually. I wanted to keep these big ones in there, but it might be best if I split them up. Let's give that a shot though. It's a good place to start. Probably do the best way to do this actual piece. I want them to be pretty hard. Is do a panel loops. I'll keep panel loops. Panel loops are on my geo. I haven't done panel loops in a while. All right, let's do groups, loops. 4 is fine. Let's get some polish on there. 2 should be plenty, actually. Oh, oops, I forgot to. That was dumb. For the poly group, I think. Alright. So I made a poly group there, as you can kind of barely see. With that pattern. I'm going to do groups, loops. And we'll do a polish as well. And it just kind of. It's good for doing, like, patterns, especially when you don't need to be super hard surface. It works well for hard surface stuff too, but it's great when you can like let that polish really do its job. Too much. Probably want a little bit more geo to sculpt on. That'll be good. But yeah, that's the point though, right? Like, throw like a quick poly paint on one, even how messy they are, like, I wouldn't even like do a full retope. It would probably just do like decimation master, get it down to triangles, throw some quick skins on it. Like, we just do a quick hack and slash and see if we can just start like toying around with something. Alright, maybe Dynamesh again. That's not bad. How to extrude the shell. If you go to, I mean, I did it like 5 seconds ago, so you can go to like on Twitch, you can just like rewind the thing, or if you click on videos, you can go see how that was done. I'll just put in some trim dynamic details, maybe chew it up a little bit, see if it, has some battle worn damage on it. Turtle's been in some action. What's up, Dante? What's up? You got a question? Sorry, guys. I got my wireless mic, but the longer I have it, the more quickly the battery dies. So sorry about that. I don't know where that cut off, but it's easy enough to do it again. Duplicate the high. This will be my low. Do a quick Z remesh. Got some new geo. This is my low topology, right? It's not bad geo. Good edge loops, good edge flow. That's a good mesh, right? Love it. Simple, just I have my original high visible. You don't need it to be there. It's visible, but I'm also in solo mode, so I don't need to see it. I just do projectile, subdivide, projectile, subdivide, projectile, subdivide, projectile, subdivide. And then if you want to do, like I was saying, if you had the morph issue, where the thing you were projecting, you know, wasn't going to project well, you want to store morph target, projectile, and then you can come in and either like fix the issues, like buff them out yourself, projectile, right? And you see you get these little other issues here. Just grab that morph brush, and you can paint them back, and kind of just blend between the new thing and the old thing, and you know, throw another project down, and like so the morph brush is good, but you got to store one per target. You know, so if I delete morph target, store morph target, projectile now, still has these issues here, but you know, I can always morph it back. And, you know, you get the ability to kind of control it on a per case basis. Alright, so let me delete that. Fix all that. Alright, Ashley, thanks for stopping by. Good hanging. Hey, Rodrigo Pixel, what's up, dude? This guy here in chat, Rodrigo Pixel, is one of the greatest artists of all time. I love him. His work is so cool. What have you been working on, man? I haven't seen you update your ArtStation in forever. If you guys haven't checked out this dude's work, follow him on ArtStation. There we go. Yeah, man, I remember you did this contrast entry, and this is the last time I've seen you post. It's been a while. But yeah, check out this dude's stuff. Super rad. He's worked on Disc Jam a little bit with us. He's awesome. Does the detailed stuff really well. Obviously does like the stylized, exaggerated stuff really well. A lot of really good workflow tips in here as well. I love this. Super exaggerated stuff. Caricatures and cartoons. Really cool. You doing personal stuff? Nice. When are you gonna come? When are you gonna come take over all of our art needs at High Horse? We're gonna be starting up our new IP here pretty soon, I think. Probably next year. So let's go back to the full McGilly here. There we go. Well, good. Well, that's awesome to hear, man. Well, we're definitely gonna reach out too when when we start working on this next IP. I'm reaching out. We're gonna figure something out because I think we'll have a pretty fun game to work on for the next thing. Did you see that Gilberto? Is it Magno or Mango? Magno, I think. See, Gilberto Magno moved out to Los Angeles. I saw on his art stream, or not stream, but on one of his channels. I think it was YouTube or something, or maybe it was Facebook. But yeah, I saw he's moving to LA. I think he's working on a game out here. I think he's working on that personal project of his. Yeah, he's in LA. Everyone's moving to LA, Rodrigo. You gotta do it. Make the jump. Get out here. Work on some games. I'm excited to see what comes out of that. What Gilberto's game looks like. I wonder who he's working with engineering-wise. I mean, he's gonna make the art incredible no matter what, but it'll be, you know, the trick is making the game, you know, engineering-wise, really feel good. Hopefully, he's got somebody good for that. I think I'm gonna do fall off sharp brush. Oh, this has got a bit of a pinch too. I think it'd be better to tighten up the alpha. Oh yeah, I mean, shoot, his stuff's awesome if it was a team of 5 to 10 people. It's unbelievable. That lazy mouse slider, lazy radius is too long. Let's go 15. Let's turn off lazy mouse for now. So when are you coming out, Rodrigo? You're gonna make the move? Coming out to LA soon or what? I like it out here, man. Good beaches. Beautiful. This one. Not yet. Alright, well, believe me, you'd have no problem transitioning out here. I think you'd fit right in. A lot of opportunity out here. A lot of new studios opening. A lot of people need staff. Tell you what though, it's flipping expensive. Los Angeles, it was expensive when I first moved out here, but it's only gotten worse, and it's starting to feel like the juice ain't worth the squeeze, if you catch my drift. Dante, I forgot. Sorry, I missed your question. Can we actually use ZRemesher version of model for animation? Yeah, for sure. Especially depending on what your needs are. For example, if you're using if you're using a if you're doing like a game animation mesh, you want to be more careful because you want to go low poly and you want to capture the form but still not waste geometry. But if you're doing like a cinematic rig, you know, like if you're doing, like, for example, let me bring those legs back up, right? So here's, like, you know, a decent amount of geo. Let's divide you one more time, right? If I was doing like a cinematic rig, meaning for like a film, like the geo, it's going to be rendered at very, very, very high resolution, so it needs to look great. But you can also give yourself a little bit more polygons, right? So, you know, give myself like 7,000, 8,000 for the leg. And then like skinning will be a pain in the ass. So you want to balance between like skinning, weight, and but you can definitely rig it. I mean, like the geo I just built a second ago could definitely be rigged easily because yeah, so like this isn't like unheard of, right? Like it didn't respect the curves like I would have liked. Actually, I didn't give it curves, my bad. Right, so maybe curve strength's high, that's high. Let's try that. So you could probably skin this. It's even probably too much. So like this geo is not super high, but it'll look great deforming. And you could take that right now, skin it and animate it, and you'd have no problem. You know, project all your details on and you'd be all set. So like I'm gonna retopologize by hand, but I'm gonna start by doing the ZBrush retope, because the ZBrush retope is gonna get me most of the way there. Oh yeah, we got some tweets. We just announced, not announced, but like showed some screenies of our new map. I guess some people liking on it. That's good. Here's the new level that's coming out soon. It's kind of like an indoor championship tiled court, a lot of emissives and kind of like a, you know, tiled reflective floor. We also redid the scoreboard a little bit, so the scoreboard has little meters that show you how close you are to winning the set. Put some seating and stuff in there. Actually looks pretty good. Want to do more, but I'm pretty happy with where it's at right there. Oh, thanks, Rodrigo. Appreciate that. My goal is to be a good model that can fit in a team. Well, I think I mean, side effects. Your work is definitely, you know. I mean, you're a good sculptor. I wouldn't. I don't think I don't see any reason you wouldn't be able to. You know, I think you just keep at it. You definitely have the talent. I mean, the other model you showed me is cool. It looks great. I think you just keep at it. I think you'll be working in no time for somebody. I don't think you have. Put it this way: there's a lot of people out there a lot farther to go than you, man. So you should be very proud of that. You should, you know, just keep working at it, and you'll be working in the industry in no time. These are like some of those shapes. I don't know how they're gonna go while I'm doing them, and then I pull back and they don't look good. Yeah, DJ's still kicking. Rodrigo, we haven't announced the next character yet, even though like he's still ready. I have him animated and everything. The other one you did that we haven't shown anything of. Everybody loves Lonnie. The female character, I think you probably saw. We launched it when we launched Switch. Everybody loves her, but I haven't done the next announcement of the next character yet. We're probably gonna announce that after the next map. It's still alive. It's moving slowly because we're not, we're only two guys and we're still just kind of chopping away at it as best we can. We wish we were moving a little bit faster than we are, to be honest. But it is going well still. It's still hanging in there. People still playing it, and hopefully, we'll do a little bit more on the competitive front. Get a little bit more stuff going on out there. Now we're talking about a shell, folks. Now we're talking about a shell. Oh, thank you, Dante. Appreciate that. You played it. You played with her. Nice. Yeah, to be honest, I wish I would have. I didn't do the animation on that one. We had somebody help us with the animation, and I wish I would have done it myself because there's a way I want it to feel. I don't think our animations feel the way I want them to feel, unfortunately. But that isn't to say the model doesn't look good. Why can't I alt click that? Give me that geo. There we go. So I'm gonna pull these little bits out a little bit. Seem a little pinched in. Belt straps seems kind of silly how big it is. There we go. Thin it out a little bit. It's a little bit too bulky. Even still. Appreciate that, Rodrigo. I think probably the thing to do now is work on these straps and clothes. Pretty happy with where the shell ended up, all things considered. Skin shade. Mostly brown ones look okay, but I kind of like it to be green. I wish if I had a Twitter poll, I could be like, our Twitch poll, light brown or kind of an olive green for the turtle shell. I like it more when they're green, but brown seems to be the kind of style of the day. Craig Kelly, yeah, any tips on creating weapons? Okay, so do you mean from the concept phase or from the modeling phase / ZBrush phase? Kind of both, all? Like, are you doing an original concept or? Stick with like a dark brown. Maybe move it a little bit towards green. That's not bad. I think against the kind of more saturated skin tone, it actually works pretty well. Alright, let's fill object. No! This thing doesn't work. Anyway, alright, so that's the color and the material, right? So we can switch materials, it's still gonna work? Okay. Now, I want skin shade, I want that color. There we go. Not bad. So, okay. Creating weapons, right? Let's see if I can, nice, sodium. It's a little bit more responsive. I can't handle as many pixels on my machine. Okay, so one thing I like to do is just do some real rough block out. Inking pen is a good one for this. Like, if you're concepting weapons, right, like, just get shapes in there. And then like all of a sudden, you know, you'll start kind of pulling stuff out. You'll start getting an idea of like what you want to do. Like even if I'm talking about like doing like 3D model, I usually start with something like this, only because it gets the juices flowing, and modeling's tough when you don't know like exactly what the thing is you're going for is, right? So it's like it's important that you kind of it's important that you at least have the baseline. So like, I don't know what a cool looking gun is, but like it's got a little scope at the bottom, a little thing at the top. Maybe it's even got like a nice long silencer, and you know, like this isn't. I'm not like a master gunsmith. I haven't created a lot of guns, and professionally, right? But I'm happy to report this is starting to look something like a gun, right? So like, you start figuring those things out, and you be really, really, really loose. And that's just one concept I did in a matter of seconds. Throw it over in the corner, and you can knock out a handful of these, real quick, right? Like, maybe this one's got more bigger, kind of a stock thingy, and this is going to be more of a heavier kind of. Section there. Big long clip. Separate thing. Maybe it's got like a little rail there. it's like nice to work in silhouettes because you can just like, you can tell real quick when something's working versus not. Right, so like you bang out a bunch of these and you just get to the point where you have a decent volume of shapes you think you like. Find out the ones you like, work them up a little bit faster, or a little bit, you know, more detailed, and then like get one to the point where you have like a decent silhouette. It doesn't need to be like a fully fledged out concept because that's time consuming and it's difficult. But like if you just start knocking out shapes and get to the point where you kind of understand, like, okay, this is going to be a main shape, this is going to be kind of like a sort of like an attachment thingy that kind of connects on the bottom of a thing, this is a little bit of a nozzle that comes out, that's the silencer, and you start like kind of just defining where those places are that transitions take place, and you have like, you know, an idea of all the stuff where you should start modeling, I guess is what I'm trying to say. Like you have an idea of where the model should begin to take, you know, where you should start blocking out shapes, because a lot of this stuff can change when you're in the modeling phase. So like maybe it's that, and then so like, you know, these proportions are all kind of off because that clip's too tiny and blah 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 blah. But you work all that stuff out, right? And you get an idea of what kind of thing you're going to be making. Throw that up in Maya or ZBrush and as an image plane, and then in the background you're just laying in blocks and blocks and blocks and blocks. I think I actually have a pretty decent example of this because it's like early in the sketch phase. Let's see if I can find it. It would be under characters, deuce. This is it. Yeah. So this is super early. But this is like the lowest possible form of all the shapes that I like and all the shapes that I want. This is going to be two different Tommy gun style barrel clips. This is sort of like a kind of like a power core thing. This thing here shoots like grenades out of it, and like just, this is like a explosive launcher. Up here is like a bullet fed sort of like, that's what this little, like, so this little mini clip here is for like assault rounds. This big clip right here is for grenades, and it's all going to kind of come thumping out of there. And the only thing I had to do was like, I worked out a little tiny sketch and I made sure that the big blocky cylinder shapes all kind of fed into what this thing's going to be. The last thing is this thing up top, which is just like a lightsaber almost that kind of comes streaking out. So all these things are kind of connected to this energy core. It's like a powered weapon, and this is a very, 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 very simple design. But like, this is for the gameplay of, I want it to be able to shoot bullets, I want it to be able to shoot grenades, I want it to be able to melee things with a sword. So I had to fit a lot of stuff onto not a lot of geo, and that's gonna be the arm piece on this guy. So that'll replace what that is, right? So like, that's the kind of thing I'm talking about. Like, I've got a lot to figure out still here. These shapes don't even work together well yet, but it's just a matter of finding where you're going. And so that's why you kind of want to mix you want to mix the 2D stuff with the 3D stuff and just try and remain fluid enough to the point where you can have these ideas and execute them. So like now it's like, this is a pretty decent, now I can like, you know, I could dynamesh that up and start doing some kind of detail work and finding out like how's this stuff all hooked together and like what's the actual look of this thing, right? That's all stuff that I can figure out you know, going forward, and that's not going to be too bad because I know that the base is solid. Like, I like where I'm at from a baseline perspective. So that's my advice about weapons. You know, it's like the weapons themselves very rarely are difficult to model, even if you're doing like if you're doing like a realistic AK-47, like to the nuts and bolts, right? If you're doing all of that, even still, you're just doing like, you know, cylinders, curves. It's like, it's time consuming, but it's not difficult. Like coming up with a new style of weapon and modeling that and making sure it's interesting and cool, that's really a hard challenge. Like, that's a very difficult thing to do. It's not something that I do particularly well. So like, the best advice I have to like create new weapons is just that, is find your concept in 2D and find out what it's supposed to look like, how it's supposed to look, find all that out, and then modeling just becomes a action of following that blueprint, and it ends up being a lot more reasonably done. So hopefully that answers at least some of the questions. Are you going to keep textures and color the way they are, or are you going to do some other software? So what I'll do is, I'll do like, these are just like blockout colors to make sure like the palette works, right? Like if this yellow wasn't the right amount of, didn't have the right amount of red and orange in it, it wouldn't look good with the, it's just basically, this is more like a RBG test to make sure the color scheme is kind of working and the different leathers are separate enough from each other. That's the kind of thing I want to make sure that you kind of have everything you know, in a place where it all kind of makes sense, color scheme wise. So that's what this is kind of all for, is just kind of making sure those things are all true. When it comes time to texture, it'll be done in like a different package, because we want to make sure we control the glossiness, the PBR properties of the shader. So that'll all happen elsewhere. But what I'll probably end up doing though is, when I go into finally polypaint this thing, I'll probably do a lot of the coloring in ZBrush. Like I'll do pock marks and the freckles, and like just like I'll do a pretty high resolution polypaint in ZBrush just to kind of get started, and then from there we'll kind of see. I mean, do you love Red Dead Redemption 2 open world? You know, I never actually played it, and I want to say I probably would enjoy it, because I do enjoy open world games. For some reason that one just passed me by, and I know it's like people love it, and the new one's supposed to be amazing. But you know, like when I played the last GTA 5, I just found everything about it to be so clunky. I found the controls to be clunky. I found the physics to be clunky. I wanted to enjoy it, but I couldn't have fun. I mean, it's a beautiful game, and there's a ton going on there. There's a lot to be proud of that Rockstar did. But at the end of the day, I couldn't deny the fact that like I've bought GTA 5 twice, and both times I'm like, I'm gonna sit down and play GTA 5. You know, millions of people can't be wrong. It's gotta have something in there. It's fun. I just don't have fun playing it. And so when Red Dead was coming around, I was just kind of like, ugh, you know, I just have no motivation to do it. You know what I mean? Like, and people are so gassed on, I mean, like, this is going to be a very unpopular opinion, but like, I find myself getting so bored trying to finish Breath of the Wild Zelda. Like, survival mechanics and materials and crafting and cooking and, you know, all this just like open world checkpoint stuff. It just seems, you know, it's don't get me wrong, it's a total accomplishment, but it just seems, it seems like there's very little direction to it all, and I don't find that appealing when I'm trying to play a game. I want, you know, somebody's gonna, you know, craft an experience. I want to have that experience, right? Like, not to say that Zelda's a bad game. I do enjoy Zelda. I don't really enjoy GTA 5, but I do love Zelda, and I just find myself, this is the first Zelda that, you know, feels like work to beat it. The other Zeldas I kind of just got to enjoy it. This one, I'm kind of like, I'm in there because there's enough really, really cool stuff happening that I'm like, every time I turn a corner, something awesome happens. So it's like, I'm definitely gonna like finish the Zelda over time, but it's taking me so long, and it does feel like work because, like I said, it's all these mechanics. I don't know, like, they belong in games like Skyrim, not necessarily games like Zelda, in my opinion. You know, like, I think Zelda was better as like a curated adventure experience. It was always kind of an open game, but like meaning like Zelda always had like an open world and like go exploring kind of RPG thing happening. But you know, all the sort of open worldy stuff that they have in Zelda now, it just, it's kind of feels out of place. The crafting feels really out of place. I don't think there's any reason people want to be crafting in Zelda. Like, I don't know why they would have cooking as like a, don't go into this fight until you go over there and spend time running this animation 1,000 times. It's like, ugh, give me a break. But, you know, hands down game of the year, so what do I know? Yeah, I mean, that's a personal preference thing, you know. I'm a pretty picky gamer when it comes to what I'm spending my time on, if you guys couldn't tell already. Ah, thanks, Rodrigo. Yeah, those two I'm not really wild about silhouette-wise, but I've actually got some designs that I'm like, oh wow, I've come up with a silhouette that recently actually for a weapon. I was like, oh man, I'm gonna work that out a little bit more. Oh no, don't crash, don't crash. Oh no, it's gonna crash. You son of a bitch. Oh, nice recovery. Did it. Zasinaru Kitsune. Hope I got that right. Welcome. Hello to yourself. You boosted me to work more, Tim. Good side effects. That's whenever you're. A lot of people. This is something that I hear a lot. People, they go on Instagram or ArtStation and they get discouraged. They say, "Oh, everyone's so good. I'm not there yet." If you can turn that emotion into motivation, like you see someone who's really good, and instead of being intimidated or discouraged, if you can turn that emotion into motivation, saying, you know what, I'm not going to go out tonight, I'm not going to see my friends, I'm going to work on this thing, I'm going to get better at something tonight. Like that ability to turn that around into a positive force is, I think, very important. Because it's very easy to get discouraged. I get discouraged all the time. It's just, you look at people's work and you're like, that is so good. But you have to learn to forgive yourself, and you have to learn to work at it constantly. And then, you know, the more you work, the better you're going to be. And then one day, all of a sudden, you'll look up and be like, oh, I'm actually quite happy with how that turned out. You know, it's important to be critical, but it's also important to recognize your own progress and to replicate the things that you do that yield progress, because it's different for everybody as well. My wife is very different in terms of like how motivation works in her mind from mine. And I always try to coach her in the way that like people would coach me, and she's like, that doesn't help at all. Because we have different motivational responses, I guess the word is. Chop out that little shape in there. I don't think it was working. It was working better than that though. I guess we can start on these clothes. I've been putting off the clothes because I find clothes to be so boring. It's so much more fun to do a shell like that. A technical question: how important is calculus for game development? It depends. I mean, a lot of the time, I'll say this. My first game development interview was with Infinity Ward, and that's how I ended up working on Call of Duty. It's my very first game in the industry, and I was an engineer. I wasn't an artist ever for Activision. I spent 10 years as an engineer. So math is important because I would say physics are more important than calculus, but like if you're gonna do high-level physics, then calculus is like a part of that. It's not entirely important because you can make a game without knowing calculus, of course. You can also make a game without knowing physics in a lot of ways, because like a lot of these engines right now have their own physics, and you can just kind of figure out where's this grenade gonna go based on how I throw it, right? Like applying gravity to something is already done for you in a lot of these games. All that being said, you're almost inevitably going to want to do something customized. You're going to want to create something like, oh, I want this to be a rocket that homes like this, or I want this to be an explosion or a fight scene, or I want this physics force. I need to impact the world and the physical world in some way, or I want there to, even if it's just like an effect, like I've got a starburst and I want the stars to kind of flutter out and if I want the stars to flutter out in different directions, that's all math. Everything that you're going to be doing is math. If you want to create something in an interactive environment, like you can, yeah, there's animation that you can like key yourself, but like ultimately, like if you're building, whether it's effects or gameplay logic and things like that nature, you're always going to have math at some level of it. So, math is important, physics are important, calculus is present, but not as critical. Like for example, like the derivative of if you want the acceleration to be like how, the rate at which you're increasing your speed is what acceleration is. If you want to find out what your velocity is, you can take the derivative of that. A lot of the math functions to calculate, integrals and derivatives and get the integrals of things, those are all things that you could calculate to find out information when you're coding your game. That being said, you can make a lot of games without ever doing that. You can do a ton of game development without ever doing those things. So it helps to know that stuff. I'll tell you what, there is a math book that I'm absolutely wild about. What is it? There's a math book for this. Math and physics for game programming. GDC, they do this every year actually. Math and physics for game programmers is at GDC every year. They basically like do this talk like once a year and like update it. But like that's pretty much what you want to know. It's like everything you want to know is these kind of things, like getting normals of planes, transforming matrices, because a matrix is basically how you represent every object in your game in space, doing transformations on them, multiplying them to find out. You have to multiply matrices to do, like, in world space it's here, but relative to my feet, it's actually only 10 feet over there. So those are the kind of calculations you're going to be doing a lot of, and doing matrices is how you're going to be doing that, multiplication of matrices, and those are things you want to know. That's like game development math. So if you Google like math and physics for game programmers, things like that, if you look for that kind of stuff, that's the stuff you want to learn. And there's a tiny bit of calculus in there, but it's mostly not a lot of calculus in that stuff. What do you think about the new Cyberpunk 2077, Craig Kelly? It looks awesome. It looks really cool. I love like open world RPG stuff. Open world adventure versus open world RPG. It depends. Like the game has to hit the kind of the right tone for the open world stuff to be a turn on for me. But I do dig like the Arkham Knight open world stuff. I dig Skyrim is one of my favorite games of all time. I love Oblivion. I love Elder Scrolls, all of it. So Cyberpunk, could be real sweet. Looks awesome. Again, like for me, I'm more of a gameplay guy at the end of the day. Like I when I see a trailer and I see really, really good art, that means almost nothing to me. Like I love when there's really good art, but the gameplay's got to be there. So it's really what a big fact. So I don't know if I'm gonna like Cyberpunk yet, 'cause I don't know what it plays like, right? Like I fired up some games recently, and I'm just like, because like for example, here's a good example. Destiny's free right now. It's the PlayStation free game. One of the free games on PlayStation Plus this month is Destiny. I fired that game up, and it was like, I love Destiny, I love Halo, and Destiny 2, I just played it. I played it for 45 minutes, and I was like, well, I'm never going to play this again. And it's not because it's a bad game. It's a fine game, but the decisions they made are not the decisions that are for me as a consumer. So, like, that's it. Like, that like I was like, oh, okay. And I gave it a spin, that was that. It doesn't mean it's a bad game, but it just means that, like, I got so many games out there that I love. I play everything. So, like, the things that I do like, I'm playing Total War and Paladins and Overwatch right now, and I'm having so much damn fun. And then my partner convinced me that we need to like really dig into how sweet Doom is, because I hadn't played Doom, and he was all about Doom because it's just a good old-fashioned FPS bullet fest. And he's right, like Doom gets it. Doom gets it in terms of pace, it gets it in terms of weaponry, ammunition, art, level, fun. Like I'm having a blast playing Doom, and I haven't played a first-person shooter single-player campaign that I really, really, really liked in maybe 6-7 years.
Like, I haven't played a first-person shooter campaign that I've had a good time in a really long time. But Doom, I'm playing right now, is having a blast. Yeah, Kamuji, that's a really good point. Also, you got to be wary of those trailers too, because it's always like the best of the best, and that's having been on worked on. We're having worked on several Call of Duties and Guitar Heroes and Tony Hawk's. I can confirm that's true. Like you really bust your butt trying to make the like just get that to be as sweet looking as possible, um, and showing the coolest thing you have to get people excited about. You know, they don't show you the grindy nightmare parts of it, do they? So that being said, one thing to also remember is that like we used to put things in our demos that were like we're not gonna make it into the game. We're like, this thing looks cool, but it doesn't quite fit what we're doing, and it's probably not gonna make it. But let's knock this out and get it in the out into the world, and then you know, see how they take it, right? Like, you know, put something fluid out there that might create a bit of a stir, and then, you know, see if people are digging it or not. That's obviously a lot earlier in the project than the stuff that they're showing now. Like, the stuff they're showing in Cyberpunk's like, this is what it's going to be. But there's a lot of times when you're demoing for a show or you're pressed, it's like, let's put stuff that's like, this is just for this demo. It's like, oh, it's so annoying. Like, it's not going to the final product, we should be working on it. Alright, I need to hide some of these other subtools because I'm not going to be able to see this thing. Alright, let's... elbow straps, where are the arms? Luckily they're right next to each other. It's almost as if I planned it. This is like a lot more strappy. It stays pretty strappy through the bicep and then the elbows on this side. So let's make the pad sort of come out right there. Elbow's right here, so it needs to be kind of... What do you think of God of War or Devil May Cry? I love God of War. Devil May Cry, I only played like the first two, and they got a little bit kind of samey for me. You know, didn't hate them. Um, um, like God of War. So it's hard to, because like God of War has always kind of been raising the bar, and I think that's true again with this new one. Um, at the end of the day, it's like, you know, the same core loop, and that's not unfamiliar territory. You know, it's like the you know, even going back to God of War 1, which like set the world on fire, myself included. I was still in school when that came out, and I remember I got God of War 1, and I was just like, I don't think anything's been this cool ever. Like, it was just such an achievement. Um, and you know, they're good at doing that. I keep doing this. They're good at raising the bar from like a visual storytelling perspective. You know, their animations, world class, environment art, world, everything they do is just so good. And the gameplay itself is not bad. It's just, it's not, you know, it's not doing it. I mean, like, I know they got a lot of credit this year for, they did like, oh my god, it's only one camera ever. And it's like, I get why it seems like a big deal, but it's really not. It's just, it's a gameplay design decisions, creative director decision, and I know there's a lot of internal politics over whether it was the right call or not, and eventually it all worked out. But like, ultimately, it's like, if it's good, it's good. If it's bad, it's bad. And you know, the people who make those calls, they're in that position to make that call because they made a lot of calls like that in the past, and they make the right call. Like, um, you know, I think God of War has always kind of done a great job of like really elevating what's, you know, interesting and cool. Like, they just made it cool. Like, video games can be real lame when they're trying to shove some trite story down your throat. Like, really, really fun games can have really bad stories, but I don't care because they're fun. Some games have really, really bad stories. They're okay fun, but they really shove that story down your throat and never stops with the story, and it's just like really affects my enjoyment because I don't care about this D-list action story. I want to like finish this level and have fun and see what challenges, you know, lie around the next corner. Um, God of War for me always did a good job of like, this is a cutscene I'm gonna watch because it's visually phenomenal. It's stunning. It's super exciting. The visual effects and everything about it is just so well done. Animation, acting, all of it. So like, God of War for me has always got a special place because like, they've always kind of done that. I admit I never really finished God of War 2, and I never even picked up God of War 3. And that's after loving God of War 1 and loving the PlayStation God of War. It's just, you know, once, you know, if you've button comboed, if you've done your little beat 'em up combo on one Medusa, you've done your beat 'em up combo on all the Medusas. You know what I mean? Like, their boss fights are always really, really next level, always really, really, really good. Um, so like, I always want to finish those games, but every time I fire it up, I can't find myself. I just never have the energy to finish them. And again, it's not to say that they're bad. Like, they're really excellent experiences. I'm so picky, and it's really hard for me to like finish stuff. Like, it really has to grab me for me to like see it all the way through. So I'm gonna get a little bit of a trim around here. But yeah, I think God of War is one of my favorite series, though. I've always really enjoyed it. The major difference between Unity and Unreal. Oof, that's a long one. You might want to console the internet on that one. I guess as a game developer, the two main things to consider are, I guess there's so many things to consider. Well, for one, the most important thing to me is that Unreal Engine is open source. That means you have access to all the source code, which means when something's not working, which is quite common for third-party anything, you're able to dig into the source and see what's going on the inside of the engine. That's very important for developers. You need to be able to debug your issues. Some might be your own fault, some might be the engine's fault, but you need to be able to sit there and figure out which is which and why and how. That's just always going to be true. Unity and Unreal both have a lot of the same quality of life things. Unity is easier to prototype in because C#'s a very easy language to learn. The whole architecture of Unity, I think, is pretty elegant. The way you kind of just build modules and drop in everything as the way the thing is organized as a data architecture is, I think, much preferable to Blueprints, which is the node-based scripting language that Unreal Engine has. I think, if I wanted to prototype something, my partner always says, he's like, I'll prototype in Unity faster than Unreal, which always surprised me because I think Unreal is really fast. But now that I'm doing more of the art, I find Unreal's art pipeline to be the best in the business, and just the ways in which I can get content into the game and running. I think Unreal is probably my favorite, and I think the visual bar of Unreal is far higher. But in Unity, you can customize your shaders a lot more, so if you're going for a custom shader look, Unity might be the better answer. I'm told Unity is better for mobile, though I've never done mobile, but I'm told Unity is better for mobile. However, Unreal has just released Fortnite on mobile. We've got Disc Jam running on mobile. It looks great. So, I don't know if that's necessarily the case. In my experience, people have told me that Unity is the thing to do for mobile. Unreal performs better because a managed language is C++ is Unreal, and that's not it's a native language, meaning your code is talking in machine language. It's speaking to the underlying mechanics, whereas C# in Unity, that's a managed language. It means that there has to be an interpreter, and the interpreter has a garbage collector, and all that stuff costs processing cycles, and you can have hitches, and you can have performance issues and surprise lag spikes, and things like that. That can happen with this thing's in gnarly shape now. I just ruined the shape of it. That can happen with a managed language. Like all things in game development, up to and including memory versus speed and all yada yada. Like up to including like every compromise you make, and there's no right answer for a lot of these things in game business because it's just like it's all situational, and every one of these decisions has pluses and minuses, and it's just important to be aware of what those pluses and minuses are. Alright, so this thing reaches all the way out. The strap is kind of wonky, does it? Just cut the strap off. Have you seen Lost Souls, a side game? That game is underworks with just one person. His name is Yang Bing. Lost Soul Aside. Lost Soul Aside. I think I saw this, like, didn't this guy have like a... Yeah, I remember this. I think, because I remember like this was a big deal. Yeah, I remember this. This dude showed this demo and it was like, shocked the world. Yeah, look, like 3.4 million views. When's this game coming out? Oh, we just had an update this year. A gameplay update. Yeah, this looks like a fun game though. I mean, like, one person to be making that's pretty unreal. Because the main thing, like, I always pay attention, like, there's a lot of art here. Like, there's so much art. And that's the time-consuming. The time-consuming bit is the art. Like, you know, the gameplay itself is rad, obviously, but there's not, you know, it wouldn't take you that long to build gameplay like this, where it's like, here's what the controls do, here's when you do superpowers, here's, like, what happens to enemies, like, when you hit them, here's how you track combos. Like, the logic for all these gameplay stuff is all pretty straightforward. But, like, you know, the particle trails, the environment art, the UI art in the corners, it's just such a gorgeous looking game. I don't know how anyone could have the time to do all the animations. Look how many good animations there are. There's effects on the dudes that look cool. There's just so much amazing art. Look at all that. It's unbelievable. Yeah, I can't imagine. And hopefully this guy's team has grown a little bit. Because I know, like, the first demo he made was one person. Own creator. Former solo developer, yeah, good. Then they've added people, that's good. But full-fledged team, okay, that makes me feel a lot better, because they got a full-fledged team now. Yeah, because you're gonna want to have a full-size team. Yeah, so that's good. Yeah, this is Teenage Ninja Turtles. But I don't like coding. I use full blueprints. Yeah, I mean, again, to each his own. There's pluses, there's strengths and weaknesses to each. I prefer coding because it's the strengths that are, you know, better for me and my project. And we use probably 98% code. And you know, I find blueprints are slow. They're really difficult to debug. If the engine changes, you're doing blueprint visual integrations and you're tweaking as opposed to tweaking text, which is a lot easier. You know, but it's like, if you're faster in blueprint, you're faster in blueprint. That's what you should use. I mean, that's at the end of the day. I should remember what I did for this. What do you think of Star Citizen? I never played it. I think it looks cool. I think I follow a lot of the artists who create content for it. Isn't it like a fan project that they got investment for? There's like a lot of they like fundraise a great deal of money. I don't know. I forget like what the controversy is around it. But I think it's a gorgeous looking thing. Like I love how many talented artists are dedicating their work to it, because there is an amazing amount of art going into it, and all these like universe building things. Projected total head count. I guess this is the amount of people working on it. I don't know, but I've never played it. I like how much great art comes out of it. I follow a lot of the artists working on it on ArtStation, and there's just so many good amount of like it's a really good dump of sci-fi art that I think looks good. So that's pretty much like the thing that I care most about relative to Star Citizen. At what stage do I typically retope? It's basically when I've got the high poly details. When I got the high poly details figured out, that's when I'm ready to rock there. So right now it's a little early because I'm still figuring out. I don't even know what this stuff's gonna look like really yet. I'm still kind of figuring out just overall look and feel. I'm not really sure what those things are yet. I'm not sure. Like I'm probably gonna change how these pads look. This is kind of like the traditional pad you see, kind of them drawn this way, where they have three sort of pads stuck into them. Three little like mini pads on the elbow pad and knee pad. That's kind of like traditional how the turtle stuff has looked in the past. I'll probably change it up a little bit. I probably want to make it a little bit more interesting. Yeah, I got a lot of questions to answer still in terms of how this thing look when I'm finally done with it. I think what I'll probably end up doing is taking a screenshot of the model as is, and then before the next stream I'll probably do a paint over and just start painting in some cool stuff on the model, and that's usually a good place to a good way rather to get inspired and really dig in there here. Yeah, well, see, that's the thing. People always forget, Craig, that like the game development, like a trailer doesn't show you anything about a game other than whether it looks good or not. So it's like that's not really enough for people shouldn't treat a trailer and even a gameplay demo like, oh, that's exciting, I want this, because like inevitably you're going to be masking a lot of the things that may or may not have contribute to the game working for you, the consumer. And a lot of that's going to be like, how do the controls work? What's the like there's gameplay engineering things like, can they fix this bug? Yes or no. Like a lot of games go out, they're just like buggy and crappy, and I hate that, and I won't play games that are buggy. That's just life's too short. I got too many cool things to play that aren't buggy. You know what I mean? Like, so that's the kind of thing where it's like, and again, like sometimes developers aren't capable of solving those problems, and like, that's, I mean, it is what it is. Like, they either can get to it or they can't. And like, when games have like a game that's polished, I have a lot more respect for a game that's polished and looks bad or isn't fun than a game that's not polished and maybe fun or maybe looks gorgeous. Like, it needs to have functionality. Like, bugs happen, I get it. Like, I've shipped games, plenty of games with bugs. But like bugs that are just like hilariously bad and like that stuff drives me nuts. But that's a rare occurrence too. I don't find a lot of games have that issue. All right, let's paint this. Maybe that color. See, not even the primary shapes, Chris Stefanova. It's more like the final decisions, right? Like it's less about the primary shapes. Like, this guy is pretty bulky. He's got the turtle shell on the back, and like these things are blocked out, right? Like, that's low topology still. But like, I don't really know yet how I'm gonna make that sort of like side pad look. So like, I gotta sculpt and sketch until I design what that's gonna look like. And I think I'm probably gonna do all that actually on pen and paper, or not pen and paper, but like in sketchbook. I'll probably like, I do this a lot. Oh man, come on. Okay. Turn off all the colors. Make it white. This. Grab a render. Right, grab that, slap it in here, and then just come on in and probably take this brush size down a little bit. Right, so then I would just kind of come in and paint up what I think. Like, I think I'm going to do like a little tiny, mini shoulder strap over that side. Probably put a little buckle there to hold that. Maybe strap these things to another buckle.
shoot that down into here. This thing should probably connect there with some kind of thing. And then, you know, the little belt buckle, whatever that ends up being, with like maybe little teeth there. And then maybe do like a pouch on each side, because turtles always have pouches for some reason. They have ninja stars in there. But like, it'll help me to sort of, you know, and I'll do a thicker shoulder pad up there over the shoulder. So like, drop a quick sketch like that and then figure out what these things are kind of gonna look like when I'm done. And then once I have that design kind of worked out, I got some, you know, more design work to do obviously, but I'll sculpt those details in and just make sure that all the proportions and size are all, you know, looking okay. And then if they are, then, you know, we're ready to rock, and I can start finally doing retop, and I start committing to the, if basically retopologizing means you're committing to the high resolution detail, because once you do the low resolution detail about it, that's going to be what you project, that's what's going to be what you're baking. So it's only when I'm finalized on the high poly detail do I do low poly. And a lot of times that works out in kind of a different fashion. Like I said, I showed earlier, I did a retop of the legs real quick, because it just, you know, quite frankly didn't take all that long. I thought it came out really good. So I got to a sort of remesh, retopologize that just kind of fell in my lap and kind of works. Like, okay, I'll keep this around because it's the right sort of amount of resolution, yada yada. So it really does depend, but that, you know, like I said, like the basically the time when I'm like, okay, time to get the low poly cage, UV the thing, get all that stuff going. That's basically you know, where I end up caring about that stuff. All right, so I'm about out of time here, so let me do a quick front and back. We worked on mostly the back today, actually, now that I think about it. I got the elbow pads, the shell. So I'm going to do a picture of the elbow, I'm going to do the picture of the back, perspective. Hands, got the hands finished up the hands today, got the elbow pads in, finished up the shell, and then I guess I'll get back to the equipment next week. Let's do a quick save of that, and then let's show the head up here. There we go. That'll help me just kind of for my social image. Anyway, that's what we got today, guys. Appreciate that, Kenny. Thanks a lot. Looking here, it's going to be a monthly subscribe games if it ever comes out. Oh, yeah, so it'll be a subscription-based game. Yeah, didn't they already fundraise like a ton of money for Star Citizen? I think that was like one of the big controversies, that they fundraised so much. Oh, sorry, Marco, I didn't realize I had a lot of Facebook comments. Sorry, guys. Marco, thanks for saying what's up. Dan Nichols, appreciate that. Thanks, guys. Thanks for stopping by. Yeah, that's about it for now. Where's Mikey? We'll see. That's the thing, Simmery. I can make this into all the turtles. So we're gonna start with this one, and then I think I'm gonna spend a little bit of time just like spinning off the other turtles off of it. You know, obviously, probably want to make different physical proportions, so that like maybe I'll do, I was gonna do like Raphael a little bulkier, if that's even possible. Mikey is probably gonna be a little shorter, and then Leonardo's gonna be a little thinner, and then obviously the different weapons, and I'll mix up the equipment on all of them as well. Like they'll all have different equipment. But yeah, so I got a bit of work to do still here still, but it is coming along. Like I said, the arms and legs proportions are all good. Finished up the hands today. And you really just got some questions to answer in terms of what the equipment's going to look like. And so I'll probably, before next week, I'll do a little paint over, and that'll help me get an idea of how things should look. Right now it's all still block out, and it's time to finally get into the meat of it, which is the details. And
they say the devil's in the details. It is time consuming, it's frustrating, but it's also really rewarding. So when you have good details and the thing really starts to pop, it really adds a lot to the piece. So that's will be hopefully where we head up to next week. And yeah, thanks for hanging out today, guys. Thursday is noon to 3 is my schedule, PST. So Muhammad Abdu, how do I develop my talent of creativity? I'm starting in graphic role in some months, so how do I get to a great set in the field between professionals? Okay, so the short answer is always mileage. Mileage is the most important thing, meaning the amount of hours put in, the amount of time put in. That's the most important thing to getting good. But that's kind of generic, and the way to practice is what I would say is find artists you admire and try to digest what they're doing. If they're on YouTube, even better, and just try to work alongside them and see what they're doing and try to mimic what they do. If it's 2D and painting, then like find painters and artists you like. See if you can create what they do. Studies every day. Studies. If you want to advance your learning and learn faster, you want to do studies of the art you want to replicate. I'm not trying to tell you to copy, because you don't want to copy. What you want to do is study, meaning why do they draw the nose this way? Why do they sculpt the shoulders that way? Why do they make the decisions they made? Understanding the decision-making process and then being able to replicate it is really the challenge. I've been drawing my whole life, and a big part of by the time I was in college, I could make any mark with a paintbrush or a pen or a pencil. I could throw any line. I could draw a perfect circle. I could make 3D shapes happen. It wasn't about mark making. I could make any mark I wanted to make, but I was still a very, very bad artist, and in a lot of ways I still am. It's because you really want to understand so many things beyond that are the real tough problems of making art. The first problem is of, can I sculpt any shape? Yeah, I can sculpt. You give me a picture, I can sculpt pretty much anything. That's not the challenge. The challenge is, how do I invent something that looks good? How do I invent something that looks cool? How do I put my own elements of style into a piece of work? Those are all things that come by not copying other artists, but digesting and studying and understanding other artists. Find people you admire, find what they're doing, and find where your versions of things make sense for you. What do you think's cool? What do you think looks good? And then try to create that. And even if your style looks like someone else's style, that's not necessarily a problem. That happens everywhere. That happens all over. Every artistic industry does that. Everyone's creative vision is the sum of everything they've ever seen in their life. So to a degree, everyone's copying at some level. But it's important to know the difference between doing a straight rip-off of somebody and taking motivation from them and trying to make here's a big giant reference board I have of different turtles that I like. I love the bulkiness of this guy. I'm trying to capture that with my sculpt, but my proportions are a bit different than these guys are. I made a lot of different choices for what I think I like, and I actually have done something a little bit closer to this for the head. And I want to do with more teeth, the whole thing. It's like I said, there's a lot of things in all of these pieces I like a lot. I like the equipment here because it's a lot more modern, right? So I'm gonna try and do a more modern set of equipment on the turtle, right? I actually like the hands the most. I didn't do this, but I love the way this guy does hands. Soma Riva, he's a really good artist. I haven't checked him out on Instagram. I love the way he does hands. They're all just very blocky and flat, and they read really clean. But I don't think I tinkered with that idea. It didn't make sense on my model. So it's I'm not just copying all this thing I'm seeing. I'm digesting what I'm seeing and trying to make it, something that's my own. So yeah, and I think by the time I'm done, I'll have a turtle that kind of has its own, at least unique feel to it. So that's something to think about. Hey, what's up, Doug? Just coming for the tail end here. Cool. Well, thanks for hanging out, guys. Awesome. Rodrigo, thanks for stopping by, man. Really good to talk to you again. Hope things are going well. Like I said, we'll be in touch for sure when it's time to start up our next game. I really want to work together again. If anybody hasn't seen Rodrigo Pixel, Google him. His work's phenomenal. And hopefully answer some of your questions today. And thanks for hanging out, guys. All right. We'll catch you next week.